Right now, as you watch this video, you are surrounded by invisible messages. Signals coming from your phone and the data your computer sends across the internet travel from one side of the world to the other within seconds. Whether it's a short message you send to a friend, the password you use to access your bank account, or the details of an online purchase, all of them are constantly moving within the digital world. But why can't everyone read this information? Why can't someone connected to the same network see your password? Or why can't an attacker monitoring internet traffic easily intercept the messages you send? Because the modern world has an invisible defense system, cryptology. Cryptology is about far more than just encryption. In fact, it is the name of a silent war that has been going on for thousands of years. On one side are those trying to hide information. On the other are those trying to reveal that hidden information. The two main forces in this battle are cryptography, the art of creating secure ciphers, and cryptanalysis, the art of solving and breaking those ciphers. In this video, we will explore this invisible war from ancient times to the modern era, discovering how ciphers work, how they are broken, and how they continue to sustain the digital world today. Before we continue, let's add 3 quick terms to our toolkit. The first readable message we want to encrypt is called the plain text, the open text. The seemingly meaningless jumble that appears after encryption is called the ciphertext. And the mathematical formulas that make this transformation possible are called algorithms. Now let's go back to where it all began, the depths of history. Throughout history, generals and rulers feared that their orders might fall into enemy hands. One of the most famous solutions to this problem was discovered by the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar. What we now call the Caesar Cipher is one of the earliest examples of symmetric encryption in history. Its logic was very simple. Each letter in the alphabet is shifted forward by a fixed number. For example, Caesar might send the word war to his generals and set the shift value, the secret key, to 5. He would replace each letter with the one 5 positions ahead in the alphabet. The receiving general, who also knows that the secret key is 5, shifts the letters 5 steps back and reads the message. Simple, right? Yes, but at the time it was life-saving. However, every cipher is born to be broken. By the 9th century, the brilliant mathematician Al-Kindi revolutionized the history of cryptography with a method called frequency analysis. Al-Kindi realized that in any language, some letters are used much more frequently than others. For example, in an English text, the letters E and T appear most often. If, in a ciphertext, the most frequent letter is X, then that X is most likely an E or a T. With this discovery, the era of simple shift ciphers came to an end. Centuries passed, ciphers became more complex, and during World War II, a true monster entered the scene, the famous German Enigma machine. Enigma encrypted each letter typed into it with billions of possible combinations, and its encryption mechanism changed every day at midnight. In other words, performing frequency analysis by hand became impossible. To defeat this seemingly unbreakable monster, a team led by the mathematician Alan Turing built one of the first electromechanical computers in history. The breaking of Enigma not only turned the tide of World War II, but also triggered the birth of modern computer science, proving that cryptology had outgrown pen and paper, becoming a massive battle of engineering and mathematics. Now, in the modern era, as computers entered our lives, encryption methods split into 2 main categories, symmetric and asymmetric. What Caesar used was symmetric encryption. In other words, you use the same secret key both to encrypt the message and to decrypt it. It is like locking your front door with a single key and using the same key to unlock it. Today, modern symmetric algorithms such as AES are extremely fast and highly secure. However, there is a huge problem: key distribution. If I want to send data to a server in the United States, how do I securely transmit the shared secret key over the internet? If someone listening on the network intercepts that key, all security collapses. This is exactly where a revolutionary idea in cryptology was born in the 1970s. Asymmetric encryption, also known as public key cryptography. In this system, instead of a single key, you have 2 different keys that are mathematically related. One is the public key, and the other is the private key. Imagine you have thousands of padlocks with your name on them, available for everyone to see. Anyone who wants can take one of these locks. When someone wants to send you a secret message, they take your public padlock, attach it to a message box, and lock it with a click. From that point on, there is only one key in the world that can open that box, your private key, which you keep to yourself and never share. The lock can travel openly across the internet, but the key stays safely in your home. So is everything we've talked about just theory? Absolutely not. In fact, from the moment you unlock your phone screen every morning, you are unknowingly using cryptology architecture hundreds of times. The first stop is that small padlock icon in the top left corner of your browser, HTTPS. When you visit a website, the asymmetric encryption we just discussed kicks in. Your browser and the server perform a handshake, securely exchange keys, and from that point on, all your activity on that site is encrypted. Without this system, if you connected to a public Wi-Fi network in a cafe, all the credit card information or passwords you entered could be intercepted and read clearly by anyone else on that network. Another example is end-to-end encryption used in instant messaging apps we use every day. In this system, your message is encrypted before it even leaves your phone. Servers along the route, internet service providers, and even the company behind the messaging app cannot decrypt it. Only the recipient's device holds the key needed to decrypt the message. In other words, the keys exist only at the ends. It's not just about privacy either. Digital signatures are also used in banking transactions and e-government systems to verify your identity and ensure that an online transfer has not been altered in transit. Cryptology is, in essence, the foundation of trust in the digital world. Everything sounds great, doesn't it? Our encryption is strong and our data is secure, at least for now. At the heart of modern asymmetric encryption lies a simple mathematical difficulty. Multiplying two huge prime numbers is easy for computers, but factoring the resulting large number back into its original primes is nearly impossible. For a traditional supercomputer, breaking this problem could take billions of years. That's why we feel secure. But a new player is entering the stage: quantum computers. These machines, which operate according to the laws of quantum physics, follow a completely different logic from the processors we know today. And mathematicians know that a sufficiently powerful quantum computer could break the so-called unbreakable asymmetric encryption we use today in a matter of hours, or even seconds. So is this a digital apocalypse? No. Cryptologists are aware of this threat and have already begun developing post-quantum cryptography standards based on new mathematical problems that even quantum computers cannot solve. In other words, just like for thousands of years, the endless chess match between code makers and code breakers will continue into the future at full speed. Cryptology is one of the silent guardians of the digital world we use every day. From the messages we send to banking transactions, from private conversations to government systems, countless pieces of information are protected behind invisible encryption. And although we rarely notice it, the security of the modern world is largely built on this hidden mathematics. Today we talked about how a message is hidden, why a password is so hard to break, and the centuries-long battle of hiding and revealing that humanity has been engaged in. Because cryptology is not just a technical subject, it is the very balance between the power of information, privacy, and security. And perhaps the most interesting part is this: every step you take online, you are unknowingly part of this invisible war.